Hi there. I'm going to try to do this again. I already started streaming and I streamed at the right time from my car, but it didn't go to the right page. And some people saw me and some people didn't. And it may be just too darn late for most people because nobody is even going to know that I'm on. But I'm going to try again. Okay, hold on. And James, can you write to Helen and Todd and tell them to try now if they can? Okay, so we never give up, do we? Now, nobody is watching, but that's all right. So do you need my cell phone?
Yes.
Okay, so just get rid of all this. Okay. Okay, I'm talking to nobody, and I don't care, because this will eventually reach somebody. We had a mess, and we did broadcast, but it didn't go to my Facebook page. So we're going to start again, and the topic that I'm talking about tonight is when things fall into place, do you act or do you not act? And in the stream that I already did earlier that I'm sure you couldn't see, we started talking about what happens when things get into place, fall into place, and why do we stop short? And one of the reasons, and we were having a great discussion for the few people who were there, one of the reasons is that people have had experiences where they think that something was falling into place and was right, and then they got burned. And Erica was saying that she hasn't forgiven herself for past mistakes yet, and so she's afraid to act even when it looks like the stars are aligned. And that was a very potent comment that she made. And Sweet Baby James was talking about, what was it true for you,
About
James?
the music, about the song that I
Yeah,
wanted
that
to work on.
when things fall into place, then the rubber meets the road. For example, he's been working on a song for years, and now all the elements are there, and he can really do it, and he's freezing because now the rubber meets the road, and he has to see what what the thing's going to look like. And I was talking about painful disappointments that people have in their childhood. Honey, can you do this? James, can you write to Todd? And
Well, I've put their names in there.
okay, well, let's just do one at a time. You can try it now, comma Helen, period. I think I figured out what the problem is, and I'm on my page, period. Okay, and let's try Todd, and let's see if we can write to Todd. And these are people that I know were trying to watch and couldn't. Okay.
Microphone.
We are on live now. You can give it a try, period. Anyway, so I was talking about how we've been fooled in the past. Now, let's say a parent made you think that he or she really loved you, and then you discovered that that parent was just using you as a pawn against the other parent. So how does that feel? Makes you feel like you were a fool, like you were being tricked, like the universe took advantage of naivete. All those kinds of feelings come up for people when they're facing something where, oh, everything looks too good. Oh, yeah, if it looks, isn't there that expression? If it looks like it's too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, there is a general cynicism. I also ask the question, do you think you're the kind of person that nothing good ever happens for? Do you have that negative self-judgment? Do you feel like, the universe loves everybody but you? Those are the kinds. I can see a couple people are joining us. Yay. And say hello if you're there and let me know. I'm hoping that this time we're actually broadcasting on my... Oh, Helen is here. Yay. Kate is here. Hi, Beth and SVJ. Did you hear what happened? I was broadcasting from the car, and it just on my iPad, it went to the wrong page. So no wonder half the people, a couple of people saw us and a couple of people didn't.
And that's why we're doing this as a redo of Granny Rocks Our World. So
That's right.
Here we are once again.
Granny got really shaken up herself. So I was just sharing a couple of reasons that people freeze. James said that, okay, when the stars align and it feels like everything is falling into place, then the rubber hits the road and you have to produce. And, you know, you have to do the thing that you say, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, if I ever got 3 weeks in a row off vacation, I'm going to go out of Mongolia for vacation. And I'm going to, you know, I'm going to do plastic surgery on children in a yurt. Helen says she loves the
write an
haircuts.
article and submit it to a magazine.
Right. I'm going to, so then all of a sudden your boss comes in and says, okay, you've got 3 weeks off. And you say, I've got 3 weeks off? Oh, no. You know, my mother-in-law has the flu. I think I better stay home, right? Todd is watching too. So people are finding us. Oh, thank you. Yay, say hello. So that's what happens is like we all of a sudden, things have fallen into place, but we don't want to take action because we're paralyzed by all the things. I just want to, for some of you who just came on, for summarizing some of the reasons that people, like you were fooled as a child by one parent who said, oh, you know, it's like Santa Claus. Oh, Santa is going to bring you, you know, a sled this year. Well, supposing Daddy loses his job and there is no sled. Right?
And one of the listeners said that having made mistakes in the past, not trusting herself and being afraid to move forward.
Right. This was on the live stream. We've had, this is the 3rd live stream tonight. This is probably the only one that's reaching most of you. Yeah, so people can't forgive themselves for mistakes. People are afraid to be embarrassed. It's like, oh, you know, I tried something and I fell on my face. So that's really terrible. So I'd like you to look inside and ask yourself if you're the kind of guy who actually acts when the moment comes up, or do you procrastinate? And how do you feel about that? Oh, Kate is one of the people who says, I don't deserve it. Thank you, Kate. I think a lot of people feel that way. This couldn't possibly be for me. This couldn't possibly work. Hi, Sally. Sally is watching too. Somehow she found it. So we're talking about when things fall into place, do you act or do you freeze? And and a lot of people are sharing that they freeze, that they tend to freeze. Kate said it's because she doesn't deserve it. Erica had said that she's afraid she's made mistakes in the past. I was bringing up situations where we may have been fooled by a parent. And James brought up, sometimes it feels like, oh, now the rubber has met the road and now we have to produce something. And we put all this pressure on ourselves and we can't just relax into it and say, well, this is really interesting. Maybe this is the time. Who cares if the first 500 times things didn't work out? You know, this is the 501st time. So I'd like to hear more from our audience since we have one now, since we're actually broadcasting on the right channel. James, you have something else that you would like to share on this topic?
Well, yeah. I mean, today we had a couple of big ticket decisions to make, and I balked on both of them. You know, I got fearful. I got clutched, and the first one regarding, should I say what it is?
Well, you can.
Well,
I mean,
it was for a motorhome that my disabled and chronically ill mate has felt a need for, and I felt a need for because of her condition and how our life could be better. And,
except that we don't have the money.
And we had put in a request for a particular motorhome that, because of delivery problems and demand and all of this, wasn't going to be available for a long time, possibly not for another year. And so we got discouraged and we were thinking, okay, well, we're going to take our marbles and go elsewhere. And the person we were dealing with said, wait a minute, let me call. He called a manufacturer of the motorhome, and it turns out that one is going to be coming in that almost perfectly meets our specifications except for 2 things. And this will come in just a few weeks, in June. I says, what? This is a miracle.
It is.
And yet I still wanted to look that big horse in the mouth and say, well, I don't know. And so it was kind
Well,
of bizarre.
I want to share something about that also,
Yeah,
about that
yeah.
too, because we also have to sell our car and buy this. We
Yes,
just bought this. It's a very complicated story,
Yeah.
but anyway,
We have to sell in order to buy.
right? And there's a big mess, but we can do it. For but we have to have faith in the future. That we have to have faith that this is going to work out in the future, that we're going to be able to pay for all of this. But we're looking at a miracle, at an absolute miracle. But what I want to share about it in the before of the after, which we're now in the middle, is that all this time we were trying to figure out what to do, and nothing was falling into place. I mean, absolutely nothing. The one that we wanted, we couldn't get for a year. The one that we didn't want, we could get. It was overpriced. It didn't have what we needed. But what it required, guys, was to think outside the box. For some reason, I woke up this morning in a different space. And when I started to think outside the box, I said, supposing we did this, because it wasn't working out, it wasn't falling into place, because there were pieces of this puzzle that we had
One of which
become...
is that we already own a pretty expensive, leasing a pretty expensive car. So how can we afford another big ticket item with that car?
Right. And
the
of course,
picture.
the answer was, we sell that car. And but we felt like we had to have it. 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 Yes, Tracy, you are live, and you're saying hello, and we see it. Hello back, and we are live after having been on the wrong Facebook page, and half the people seeing us and half not. We're doing the show all over again. So it was. Todd says you are on live. Yes, indeed. So what I'm saying is, in order for things to fall into place, we had to change our thinking.
Yeah,
So that's
true.
the other piece of this. When things do fall into place, are we willing to bust a move? And are we willing to see when things aren't falling into place and say, I wonder if there's something that I need to change in my thinking? And of course, do we ever want to do that? And you see, this was really difficult because it mostly impacted, sweet baby James. He's the one who had to make that decision, that he was willing to let that go. So it's very interesting. Things don't fall into place sometimes because they're just wrong. They're just plain wrong, and that we need to think about things anew. And sometimes things do fall into place when we are on the right track. And so why can't we say, oh, this is confirmation that I am on the right track? See, that's another aspect of this whole thing. And as I asked in the last show, the last 2 times we tried to do this show tonight, which do you do? Do you act when things fall into place, or do you clutch? Are you willing to say, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. I'm feeling all clutched inside because it's not working. And what do I need to change in order to do that? So I'm throwing that out to you. Anybody going to take me up on that one? So yes, we're going after the motorhome, and we just got a cheaper car, and we're just going to pray for the best. But that would meet our needs. And in fact, I want to say one more thing. While I'm hoping some
And by
of you...
the way, we're broadcasting from that very own cheaper car.
Right, we are. It's going to be delivered tomorrow. But Helen says I act. Yes. Helen, we have an actor. Todd says I act too. But are you acting? Or are you... I love that. I love that. We had the paralyzed people first. And and Kate said she felt like she didn't deserve it, which is so sad. I mean, that is some programming. So when you see the opportunity, you seize the time. I applaud that. And more of us need to do that. Because otherwise, so many opportunities are gone. I mean, what is the worst that'll happen? I always say, what's the worst that'll happen? We'll go into bankruptcy, and there are no debtors' prisons anymore.
Right.
But what was most interesting about this is that it appeared to be a conflict between James' needs and my needs. And why were we willing to allow that to be? We needed to be willing to relax let ourselves think, be intuitive, and say, how can both of our needs be met? And so the other reason we don't act is because we want the upset. We want, I've given you a lot of reasons, maybe not in the greatest order, but I'm doing the best.
That's a very interesting point, that we want the upset.
Yes. We want it to look like our needs are in conflict. In fact, when he...
And of course, when we blame outside forces, then it lets us off the hook.
That's right. Then we don't have to
We
do
gotta
anything.
give ourselves a get-out-of-jail pass.
Right. Todd said LOL. Do you know, it was only recently that I found out what LOL meant. But anyway, in fact, so much so that when James went to test drive this car, he hated it. Tracy said, haha, I'm guilty of wanting the upset. I love it. And
Confession is
Todd
good
is
for the
laughing.
soul.
So I have no idea how long we've actually been on this time around, but I'm sure we're probably coming to the end of the show. I welcome any other comments before we leave, and this has been a great experience. So I lied before. On the first show, I said I was going to take the show and I was going to edit it and put it on, but I'm not going to do that because the third show was semi-coherent, and that's the one we're going to invite everybody to. So anyone else have anything else they would like to say before we call it a whatever we're going to call this? A night? Yes, James?
Well, yes, thinking outside the box, you suggested we rearrange the pieces and focus on the piece of, is there a cheaper car that would then enable us to get the motorhome? And so that was totally beyond my way of thinking. And turns out we came there first, actually here, because we're actually at the place we came to this morning.
Yes.
And
he drove the car again, and
then
now he likes
and
it.
I found a reason not to like it. and then Beth came up with another suggestion.
Simple
which is,
solution.
I didn't think the seat was comfortable enough. And she says, well, how's about we go back and try to put a cushion on? And I did that and says, hey, this feels really comfortable. I think this could work.
He said it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
I love it, Kate. Kate said, take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
You do that. You
Yeah.
take it from Granny. Life is short. You know, the
Act.
days are long. Minutes are excruciating, but life is short. So Todd says, I love the creativity you came up with. I hope that you guys are inspired. Think outside the box. Be willing to believe that there is an answer, that there is a solution, and take that leap of faith, because the worst that'll happen is you'll go broke and look like a fool. And so what?
So what?
So what?
Besides, it's probably happened before anyway.
All right. And Todd said, I am inspired. I'm so glad you're inspired. I'm so glad that we came back. Because when I discovered what had gone wrong with their live stream, which was 20 minutes after I started the show, I said, what the hell? I'm going to do it all over again. This is the third time I'm going to live stream. See, I don't believe in giving up. I believe in trust and faith and having, just going forward. And so I love you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on Wednesday at hopefully 6:30 Pacific time. And Todd said, I have looked like a fool so many times before for the wrong reason. That's right.
Nothing to fear.
When you pass up looking like a fool when you go for it is the best way. I love it. And Kate is laughing and sending love. You know something? When you blow an opportunity, like when you could love somebody, or you're kind of, do your music or live a more exciting life, and you don't do it, you really don't look like a fool. You are a fool. Helen said, me too. We get to learn how to laugh when we are fools. I love that. I love that. And I love you, and thank you for being such good friends and coming on however late it was.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
This is
Take
Grow.
care.
Granny Rocks Our World. Beth
Yes.
Green and James Maynard. Bye-bye.
Bye.